everyone. So I've been getting quite a few questions about the connecting the pieces. Just to clarify, this is going to be used as a way to wrap up our quarter 3 in our unit. This is only going to be available to help your grade. It's not going to hurt your grade. So if you're filling this out and you're feeling stressed, know that this is just going to be used as a way to determine any gaps in your understanding. And so this isn't going to be something that if you didn't do stellar on, that all of a sudden your grade is going to drop, because that's not what's going to happen. This is just a way to supplement what we already have done in this unit. So I'm just going to kind of go over a couple of things just to kind of give you an idea or where to start. So as you can see, there are a couple of different resources that we've included for all of you in case you didn't have a chance to bring home your notes or bring home your materials from physics. We have some stuff from physics classroom that you can use and go through to remind yourself of all these concepts we've gone through. So for example, types of forces, a mathematical equation. There isn't a mathematical equation when we started talking about the types of forces, but in the important takeaways, that might be where I put down that we know about the force of friction. And maybe I don't write down force of friction every time because that's pretty redundant. But we know that there's friction. We know there's applied. We know that there is normal force. We also know there's the force of gravity, right? And so I would go ahead and I would start filling out the different types of forces. Maybe I do put the symbol to kind of show my mastery of the content. And then this example to the real world, well, force of friction is like the car rolling to a complete stop. That's friction. Applied force is pushing a table across the room, right? That's applied. And so like that's kind of what I would do for types of forces. So like when you get to free body diagrams, again, there is a mathematical equation, and that is the sum of force is equal, or I'm sorry, the net force is equal to the sum of all forces. Remember that when the forces are opposite, they subtract. When the forces are in the same direction, they add. Okay, so that's the kind of information I'm looking for. So if it's applicable to have a math equation, then add that. If it's not, then leave it blank. And then the takeaways, like for example, when we're doing Newton's first law, the takeaway, the Newton's first law is that an object in motion stays in motion until another force is acted upon it. That was our big takeaway, right? That's Newton's first law. So when we're thinking about that, what have we done in class that kind of shows that, right? So this is the kind of stuff I want you to be writing down in this table. This table is then going to be used in your concept map. So if we jump down, we have an example of a concept map. And I know that there were some questions about how to get started. They didn't even know where to go with this. So we have a couple of options in terms of how you can complete that. You can just do it on a piece of paper, draw it, take a picture with your phone. If you have a scanner, you can upload it, and then inserting it as an image in this space down here. Okay, so that's one option. You can also do a Google Drawings where you would just go to insert drawing, new, and then from there, you can have access to the different shapes. So if you want to do a circle, you can start at the top and you would just go ahead and take leave this transparent, and then I would take my text bubble and I would start here with forces. So that's like the main thing, right? That's our big topic. So then I would do maybe forces here, and then I would go ahead and start taking all of the other concepts that we've talked about here, and I would start to label them like types of forces. And then I would create an arrow. So here, let me go ahead. Types of forces, let's get a circle around this. Okay. And let's have that be transparent. And let's get an arrow going to show how they're connected. So remember that you are going to want to have the arrow pointing towards the direction of the information. And so then you can go ahead and you can add different types of forces. So you can go ahead and make your circle. Let's go ahead and make that transparent. Take your text box. Maybe I start with applied, right? Let's put this up a little bit. And let's make this a little smaller because it's clearly not as big of a deal, right? And then we would start with, let's go ahead and do that in the middle. Oops. Now, the point is to start with making the different concepts and then going in and talking about how they're connected. So, like, for example, applied force is a good one, but I think that if we take gravity, for example, so I'm going to make this a little bigger. But if I take this text box and I add gravity, that's a type of force. Make that just a tad bit smaller. Okay, so that's a different type of force of gravity. And then we have another concept that is going to do with, or hold on, let's do this. Let's take another circle. No, not this circle. Let's just copy and paste that circle. And I'm going to do normal force for this. So we know that these are going to be connected because these are types of forces. So right there, we've got a connection between these two. But now we can even connect these two together because remember that the force of gravity of an object is the mass times the mass times the acceleration of gravity, which is 9.8. And so, like, for example, if I have my coffee cup and it is resting on a surface, we know that the normal force is going to be the exact same force as our cup, just in the opposite direction. And that is actually Newton's third law, which we did not necessarily have to go over. But I would then put a text box over by this arrow and say that the normal force is equal to the force of gravity, but in opposite direction, right? So that would be like how these are connected, and I would want to include that in here. So if you're having a hard time getting started, start with just putting things on a paper, and then you'll just kind of naturally start to see how they all connect together. So like the types of forces here, I would then start to add in, or I would include a circle that talks about the mass and, include the mass in there. Right, let's move that over. Change this to be mass. And then we can put in mass times 9.8. And that would be, that is the force of gravity. And I would include an arrow. And I would say my text box to show how this connects is just by saying equals. So this is one way that you can get started with your concept map. We've also included a link that takes you to like a web browser. So if you would like to do that instead, you absolutely can. Let's move this down to where it's supposed to be. So this was just kind of to help you get started really trying to utilize what you have and what you understand, but this is kind of like just a place to get going. All right, so again, remember, this is just to kind of wrap up the unit. We are using this assignment to fill in any gaps or any supplements to what your grade is currently. So try to put in as much as you can, but don't stress out too much about it. All right, if you have any questions, I'm still available for another hour in our office hours, and then I'm available tomorrow from 11 to noon as well. Okay, please just communicate with me. The most important thing is just keeping open communication. I am very flexible, just like I am in the classroom. I'm even more so now. So if there's something that you are coming up with that, or concerns about not getting this done, like, there is no stress when it comes to turning this, like when to turn this in. Okay, I have it listed as Friday, but if you can't do it by Friday, all I'm asking for is for you to communicate with your teacher. Okay, I hope this has been helpful. Let me know if you have any other questions.